I have no use for a foolish daughter. It's the eldest son who matters. Those were my parents, always treating me like an unwanted nuisance. 20 years have passed since then, and yet they come to me now. I wonder what for. I've decided to mete out punishment to them for trying to get involved on their own terms. I want Mom and Dad to come to my birthday party. They agreed to attend with apparent joy, not knowing they would soon face hell. My name is Emma, a 35-year-old business owner. Surrounded by my competent subordinates, I lead a fun and fulfilling life now. Considering my childhood, it's a miracle I can live such happy days as these. I was born the eldest daughter in a family of 4. The family structure was my parents, my brother, and me. My brother Joseph was 2 years older than me, a picture of perfection. He had a handsome face that took after the best parts of our parents. Incredibly good looking. As a result, he was constantly told how handsome he was and received a lot of attention. Moreover, he was blessed with so many good qualities, it made you want to ask how many blessings one person can receive from God. Not only was Joseph good looking, but he was also tall with legs like a model's. On top of that, he had excellent athletic abilities and was also smart, an invincible state. It was enough to make you sigh and wonder, how can one proceed through life getting everything so easily? And then there was me, whose fate, having such a brother, was the worst. Wherever I went, it turned into a conversation about Joseph, and even when together, it was always Joseph who was praised. If Joseph had only the good traits, then I seemed to inherit exclusively the traits our parents considered complexes. So naturally, I was far from beautiful and never received compliments about my looks. Our parents were very proud of Joseph, who was both excellent and handsome. Joseph is truly amazing. He can already speak English to a certain extent, even at his age. He even stole a regular spot from the seniors in the soccer club. He's really a son to be proud of. At family gatherings, they always talked about Joseph and told me to go play somewhere, never introducing me directly to the relatives. Even as a child, I understood that I wasn't cherished by my parents. Both Mom and Dad were only interested in Joseph. I decided to live life making sure not to stand out. It was better to live like air, unnoticed, than to make a mistake and get scolded by my parents. Since Joseph was so excellent, even if I had good test scores, I would never be praised. But if I got even a slightly bad grade, my parents would scold me. If you're foolish, it reflects poorly on Joseph, your brother. Don't do anything to embarrass him. I was yelled at with a devilish face and even denied dinner. So from that point on, I worked hard in my studies to never let my grades drop. I lived my life always hidden in Joseph's shadow. Hey, your brother is Joseph, the one who does reader modeling, right? Yeah. I knew it! Introduce me to him next time. But I'm not really close with my bro. Aw, that's boring. The flashy girls who talked to me usually did so because they were interested in Joseph. Joseph had been scouted for modeling since he was about 14 and a half years old. He appeared in magazines that trendy and fashion-conscious girls read, so there were never a few who learned that Joseph and I were siblings and approached me. Even at school, a place of peace without parents, I found myself bound by the curse of Joseph. Our parents blatantly favored Joseph over me. Take meals, for example. They gave Joseph more of the main dish, while I got less. Because of that, I was always hungry and thin. Even with snacks, Joseph got the expensive treats from the shopping center's confectionery, while I got the cheaper ones. So I hardly ever ate cake. Even on my birthday, for some inexplicable reason, I got a cream puff while Joseph had a shortcake. As a child, I grew accustomed to such treatment. So as an adult, I developed a strong fondness for sweets, to the point that I have to be careful not to overindulge. I continue living in the shadow of Joseph, who was doted upon and favored. The worst was when I became a middle school student. I wanted to join the wind ensemble in my middle school and had planned to join with my friends. But when I told my parents, they opposed it. Joseph is busy with exams this year, so you need to take over the household chores. That's what Mom said, forcing me to do the cooking and cleaning. She said it was because she was busy with Joseph's tutoring and chauffeuring to his lessons. But the thing is, she's a housewife. So while we were at school, I thought it would be best if she finished the household chores. But without giving me a chance to argue, I was made to do as I was told. I apologized to my friends many times, sadly informing them that I had to decline joining the wind ensemble. Not being allowed to do what I wanted and being forced to do chores due to my parents' convenience made my school days truly painful. Meanwhile, Joseph lived up to our parents' expectations and passed the entrance exam for a prestigious school. Their joy at that time was extraordinary. They celebrated almost every day. Joseph seemed to believe that he could do anything, praised by our parents. Perhaps because he was the center of their attention, he hardly tried to talk to me, who was oppressed by the same parents. Even when we occasionally passed by each other at school, he ignored me. Well, now that I think about it, it might have been the embarrassment typical of a teenage boy. But anyway, Joseph and I hardly communicated. At the New Year celebration, our parents, proud of Joseph's success at the prestigious school, boasted about him the whole time. They didn't mention me at all. By the time you're a middle school student, you can't help but notice the conversations around you, including those of your parents and relatives. My parents did nothing but boast about Joseph. With a sigh, I focused on the meal, wishing the party would end soon. Then, at that moment, my uncle interjected into the conversation between the parents and relatives. Joseph is certainly amazing, but Emma is too, right? I hear that even though she's only in 7th grade, Emma's doing all the housework. And on top of that, she's maintaining top grades. Why don't you give her some praise as well? As parents, I think it's wrong to treat only one child as special. The uncle is my mother's brother. Uncle and his wife always treated me kindly, and at family gatherings they often spoke to me when I was alone. That's why I talked to them about everything. I never imagined he would speak so strongly to my parents in such a public setting. My mother, accused by my uncle, became furious, her face turning red with anger. What kind of false accusation is this? I have no recollection of making Emma do all the housework. Don't lie. While saying this, Mom glared at me. Her face seemed to scream, "You shouldn't have said anything unnecessary." But my uncle stood his ground, unyielding. Emma is a very good girl. I cannot imagine her lying. Huh? A good girl? Emma? She's nowhere near Joseph. I don't need a stupid daughter. Only the eldest son matters. With those words, my parents treated me like a nuisance. Even the other relatives were taken aback by their remarks. Do Sis and Liam even realize how awful the things they're saying are? What about it? The one who has the trouble of having a failed daughter is us. That's right, she's just a financial burden and truly a nuisance. We would be happy if we only had Joseph. Enough! Don't you feel sorry for Emma at all? Not really. The argument between my parents and my uncle's family was so heated that it threw the party into chaos. Then, astonishingly, my uncle and his wife said to my parents, "We will take Emma into our care." The parents were shocked by my uncle's declaration, but then said, "That would actually be a relief." Well, we were planning to make her work after she graduates from junior high school anyway. If she leaves the house sooner, it will save us money, so that would be a relief. You weren't planning to let her attend high school? Of course not. The tuition would be a waste. We're going to use that money for Joseph's college. That's just terrible. The room fell silent at my parents' remarks. Emma, I don't think people who just gave birth to you can be called your parents. So, how about coming to live with us? I never had a choice. After hearing my parents' true feelings, I couldn't stay with them, and they were already planning to let me go. And so, I was taken in by my uncle and his wife. My belongings were moved to their house and I transferred from middle school. For a while, I was overwhelmed by the sadness of being abandoned by my parents. But my uncle and his wife always spoke kindly to me. Thanks to them, after a few months, I gradually began to regain my spirits. Uncle, Aunt, I'm sorry for causing you so much trouble. What are you talking about? We're so happy that you came to us, Emma. We don't have children, and we couldn't stand by silently while a kind girl like you is being mistreated. You can think of us as your real parents. Let's create a lot of memories together as a family from now on. I was so happy to hear that from my uncle and his wife. Tears wouldn't stop flowing. I was embarrassed to be seen crying, but I was also happy, and my emotions were a mix of good feelings. And then I worked harder at my studies than ever before to make my adoptive uncle and aunt proud. Thanks to that, I was able to attend the best high school in the state. The home of my uncle and his wife was in a different state from my real parents, but I think the academic level was probably about the same as the high school Joseph got into, if you compare the standard deviations. My uncle and his wife were overjoyed and celebrated my high school acceptance in a grand way. After progressing to high school, I continued to work hard and got accepted into the most prestigious national university in the state. I wanted to go to a good university and get a job at a reputable company to be able to give back to my uncle and his wife. Emma is truly outstanding. Sis and the others are fools for not seeing how incredible Emma is. My uncle would say that about my biological parents. Over these past few years, my uncle and his wife have become my true parents. I loved them for giving me unconditional love. Later on, I got a job at a major corporation. I worked hard, and when I got my salary, I would treat my uncle and his wife to delicious meals. Shouldn't you use some of it for yourself as a treat? Yes, we're happy enough just seeing you doing well. My reward and happiness comes from being able to give back to my uncle and aunt. I would tell my uncle and his wife that and continue to show my gratitude regularly. I actually had an interest in starting a business, and at the age of 28, I founded my own company. It was challenging at first, but thanks to the connections I made during my corporate days, work gradually started to come in. I worked desperately on managing my company. Then the performance dramatically improved and the company began to grow. Its reputation grew and the number of employees increased rapidly. Before I knew it, 7 years had passed since I started my company. During this time, my biological parents suddenly visited my company. Emma, it's been so long. Wow, you've really become an adult woman. I was surprised to see the two of them appear before me. It's been 20 years since then. What could they possibly want now? Who would have thought Emma would be running such a great company? She really is our daughter after all. What do you want? I'm busy, you know. Don't be so cold. Let's sit down for some fancy steak and talk, shall we? Really, these parents of mine are the same as ever. Always trying to attach themselves to someone with power, someone successful. As a child, it was Joseph who got special treatment, and now that I've succeeded, It's my turn? We were tough on Emma, but it seems our parenting wasn't wrong after all. What? We deliberately were tough on you to forge your rebellious spirit. That's why your success now, Emma, is thanks to our parenting. What are they even saying? So, Emma, how about we live together again like in the old times? What? We'll be kind this time. Let's make lots of family time. Go on trips, visit fancy restaurants. That would be nice. I think anywhere would be fun with Emma. I started to feel like these two people in front of me weren't human. Just devils who only think of themselves. Ridiculous. All they did was oppress me, and now they talk of family time. I decided to impose a punishment on them for trying to get involved with me only when it's convenient for them. Yeah, I should make some time for Mom and Dad too. Right? Then how about we go on an overseas trip right away? No, that's impossible because schedules don't match. Ha 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 ha. Is that so? Then how about a fancy restaurant after this? Sorry, I have a lot of work today. Oh, but instead, I want Mom and Dad to come to my birthday party. It's in a luxury hotel, and lots of people will be attending. There will be delicious food and drinks, so please come if you'd like. Oh, that sounds fun. I've never been to a CEO's birthday party before. Then I'll send you the details by email. Oh, we'll be waiting for the contact. Saying that with a smile, my parents left the company. They happily accepted the invitation, not knowing that they would soon see hell. And 1 month later, the day of my birthday party arrived. The venue was filled with many attendees, and I spent quite some time going around greeting everyone. Ah, Emma! Mom? Dad? This is an amazing party. There must be a lot of business leaders here, right? Isn't that person over there a commentator on some tabloid TV show? Yeah, they're famous, so they might be on the show. Isn't that amazing? Are you friends with such people? My parents were very excited at the party. For now, they should just enjoy themselves as much as they can. The food you mentioned is all top-notch indeed. Right? It's prepared by a top-class chef. Is that so? No wonder everything tastes so wonderful. Mom, Dad, I'm going to address a message to both of you later during the greetings, so please enjoy the party until the end. Upon hearing this, my parents seemed pleased and were all smiles. I left them and continued to greet other guests. When about 30 minutes had passed since the start of the party, and the staff informed me that all the expected guests had arrived, I stood up in front of everyone and took the microphone. Everyone, thank you for gathering here today to celebrate my birthday party. With the support of many people, I have been able to grow my company this much by the age of 35. I am truly grateful. Thank you. As I expressed my gratitude, everyone gave a round of applause. Now, before you all indulge in drinks and enjoy the cuisine, I would like to take a moment to deliver a message of thanks to the greatest contributors to my journey here. The individuals I am thankful for are my parents. As I said this, the spotlight turned to my biological parents. My parents turned towards me with bashful smiles. The parents who are now in the spotlight have, in a sense, made me grow up. Compared to the excellent Joseph and considered sufficiently less, I was oppressed and had a very difficult childhood because of these parents. There were times when, in front of relatives, they said they didn't need a foolish daughter like me while I was there. The venue became noisy after my remark, and my biological parents were frozen, their faces turning pale. They probably couldn't comprehend this sudden turn of events. In the midst of this, the uncle and his wife saved me. They criticized my biological parents for their cruel treatment and took me in, raising me with care. I called the uncle and his wife to stand in front saying this. For me, these two are my real parents. Uncle, Aunt, thank you so much for raising me to this point. As I thanked them, the uncle and his wife seemed bashfully pleased. Applause erupted from the venue. Then my biological parents seemed to realize something, their faces turning bright red as they rushed over to me. Emma, what is the meaning of this? Did you invite us to this party just to shame us? That's too cruel. The parents screamed emotionally. The fact that you were a failure is true. Your brother Joseph was superior at that time. In this society, the excellent are favored. We were teaching you the harshness of society even at home. I responded to my shouting parents with a resolute attitude. Home is home. Children want to receive unconditional love from their parents and feel secure. Besides, you say it as it suits you, but when bro failed his college entrance exams, you mercilessly kicked him out of the house, didn't you? You said never to come back home again. How do you know that? I heard it directly from bro. Eh? Why are you two connected? Surprised? After bro was kicked out, he came to apologize to me. He said that he always thought our parents were good because they paid attention to him, but when he couldn't produce the results they wanted, they discarded him, and he realized they were the worst. He regretted not being able to help me, who had been oppressed by our parents all this time. Maybe if bro hadn't been raised by you, he would have become a kinder person sooner and lived a more fulfilling life. Quiet. Joseph just got cocky and stopped studying, right? That's why he didn't succeed. He was a complete disappointment. I have no regrets about kicking that failure out even now. Is that so? If you think of bro as a failure, then you two really have no talent in parenting. Actually, you're downright disqualified as parents. What did you say? Just because you succeeded, you think you have the right to insult us? Maybe I don't, but doesn't bro have that right? After being so doted on and favored, to be thrown away after one failure. I beckoned someone with my hand. My biological parents widened their eyes in shock at the person I had called. Joseph? You were here? Mom, Dad, long time no see. Thanks for heartlessly throwing me away back then. It allowed me to think about what I really wanted to do and pursue that path. After Joseph said this, I announced the fact to everyone at the venue through the microphone. All the dishes at my birthday party today were created and made by my brother. Huh? My statement made my biological parents' eyes widen in surprise. After being abandoned by our parents, my brother began working as a temporary employee at a restaurant. He then discovered his passion for cooking, honed his skills at various establishments, went to France on his own for training, and started on the path to becoming a top chef. Now he is the head chef at the restaurant in this luxury hotel. Such Joseph has? Mom and Dad, ironically, being abandoned by you allowed both of us siblings to succeed. For that, I truly thank you. And now we declare that no matter what happens, we will sever ties with you for life. How could you? Emma, Joseph, are you abandoning your parents? The parents tried to play the victims, but none of the guests at the venue sided with them after hearing the entire story. And it was my true parents, the uncle and aunt, who delivered the final blow to them. You two are the ones who abandon your children first. Realize and reflect on the terrible things you've done up to now. At Uncle's words, they turned pale and collapsed on the spot. Then the security guards took them out of the venue. I took the microphone again and apologized to everyone at the venue. I apologize for the unsightly scene that unfolded. Now, I have an announcement to make. I will be opening a French restaurant with my brother, Joseph, as the owner. If you enjoy the taste of the dishes you had today, I invite you to come and taste the sublime dishes that Joseph will offer at his own restaurant. I'm sure I will continue to cause various inconveniences as a president, but I hope for your continued support. With that, I finished my speech and everyone gave me a warm round of applause. After that, I was involved in managing Joseph's shop while running my own company. Joseph's shop, with his top-notch skills, quickly flourished. Being naturally handsome, he received a lot of media attention from gourmet magazines, and there were also female customers who came just to see Joseph. Of course, the taste of his cooking was perfect, and customers who came to eat always said it was very delicious. As for the parents who gave birth to us, it seems they had already been branded by relatives and neighbors as the worst kind of parents, who only thought of their children as tools for their own sense of superiority, and apparently they had no place left. That's why, hearing of my success, they had tried to approach me again, hoping to benefit from me once more. But I will never open my heart to them. Not now, not ever. To me, my parents are only the uncle and aunt. The biological parents will have no part in my life from now on. I plan to cherish my life with my uncle and aunt, Joseph, and my company's employees, and live happily.